ho, ho, and welcome to episode 40 of the Rock Podcast. For those about to pod, we salute Ewell. See what I did there, Brian? Probably the same as last year.
Ewell.
Indeed. In this episode, we look back at 2007 in my year in rock. Good luck me. We look at the latest news and some new music. And we also discuss Christmas presents of a rock variety for your loved ones. But without further ado, here he is, Santa's little helper. Here's Brian.
Santa's little helper. That's what I get for our Christmas show, Santa's little helper.
I also forgot that we're doing hidden gems, but that's a given.
It is.
It's a given. That's a little. We should call it hidden Christmas presents this time.
Okay.
I feel that we've probably done all these Christmas-related gags last year and the year before, but whatever. Merry Christmas to you, Brian,
and to you, Matthew. We've had snow.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. Maybe you'll get. Well, in Scotland, you probably get white Christmases most of the time, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we never get Christmas. Anyway, sorry. Yes.
No. I was going to say, you're Mr. Continuity for shows, and I was kind of hoping that we would come to record on this show, Matthew, and you would have been the last nation left in the World Cup.
Yeah. Sadly, it's not to be.
Yes. Sadly, so we've you and me, neither you or I have got any interest in the World Cup going forward.
I don't even know who's left in it. I've completely forgotten. I imagine that either Argentina or France will win it. We shall see.
Exactly.
If you're listening in 2 weeks' time, then you will know that one of those probably did.
Yes.
Or it was Morocco or Croatia.
Exactly.
But this is not a football podcast. That's our brother podcast, Brian.
Okay.
For those about to
Shoot.
kick. That's better. For those about to shoot. You did say shoot, didn't you?
I did.
For those about to shoot, we salute you. So what has caught your eye, Bri, lately in the news?
The future of rock, Matthew, is called Wolfgang. So, 2021, I think my album of the year was Mammoth WVH, his debut album, and he rolled in young Wolfgang and his band on the Pawns and Kings tour with Alter Bridge and Hailstorm, opening up the show. Went to see them on Tuesday at the OVO Hydro in Glasgow, and I have to say, Wolfgang and his band delivered. He was fantastic, Matt. Sang brilliant. I couldn't believe how good live Wolfgang was. 3 guitarists on stage. He was only on stage for about 30 minutes. And it's nice when you see a support band and you're wanting more. You know, he could have played the album for me and a couple of covers, and he could have been on stage for an hour. I think the Alter Bridge boys got it right. You know, your opening act, first time in Europe on his own. He was great. Hailstorm did a pretty good set. Lizzie Hale is just a excellent vocalist. She's got a fantastic range. When she's in the slightly mid-range vocal, she just sounds like Pat Benatar. She's got that lovely soulful rock voice. She can do all the screamy stuff if you're into that kind of thing, which I'm not really into. And her brother, who is the drummer in the band, he did a rather pointless drum solos. But when you're the special guests on a 3-band package tour, I think drum solos should be avoided at all costs. So I was quite surprised that Hailstorm had a drum solo. And Alter Bridge came on stage and did what Alter Bridge. But I'm not going to say too much about it, Matthew, because you're going to see.
Yeah, tomorrow.
You're going to see them tomorrow, so you're the bigger fan. But Alter Bridge were Alter Bridge. Miles was Mile. Mark was there. Mark was, he's the 21st century version of Steve Harris when it comes to legs and knees on a monitor.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so great show, I have to say. For your money, 3 great bands, sounding good, and roll on Mammoth for hopefully second album recording at the moment. And I'd like to see Wolfgang come back and do his own shows. Hopefully next year, maybe early 2023. So that was highlight gig wise last week. But you went to
Yes.
Planet Rockstock.
Yeah, we were at a festival on a holiday camp, which is a lot of people kind of raise their eyebrows when I say that. And I say, well, actually, most of it was inside. They made a change this year where a chunk of it was in this kind of indoor-outdoor kind of atrium, which, to be fair, didn't really work. That was when the new bands played. But yeah, I saw some good bands. I wasn't very well when I was there, actually. I had the flu, which is terrible timing. But I managed to see some good bands. Saw a bit of the Sweet. I mean, it's a real eclectic mix at this festival. Saw the Sweet doing their hits from the 70s. Mainly walked in while they were doing Ballroom Blitz and Blockbuster and good old stuff from the 70s. Saw a band called Vardis. Now, Vardis are one of those bands, if you were around in 79, 80, 81, as I was in the UK, you would have remembered Vardis, fronted by, and I'm not sure this was his real name, Steve Zodiac. And I have to say, they were tremendous. They were brilliant. I really enjoyed them. That kind of classic sort of almost pub rock, kind of bluesy. You can imagine they go down a storm at biker festivals. And they didn't even do their hit. They had a hit in 1980, I think it was, 100 Miles an Hour. They did their song Let's Go. They're very good. Saw Blaze Bailey, former singer of Iron Maiden. He was excellent. He was really, really into it. I mean, he was. You talk about a sort of front man getting the audience going. You're too terrified not to clap. He was very good. The Answer, they were excellent on their sort of comeback trail. Bumped into Cormac Neeson and sort of welcomed him back and sort of said he had a great set, which he was very
He's a great singer, Cormac.
Yeah, tremendous. They did a really good set. Kind of a couple of new songs, but many of their old sort of favourites. Black Star Riders, headline Saturday night, they were excellent. With a new addition, Sam Wood, who's a guitarist, one of my wife's favourites, of the band Wayward Sons. He was brilliant. And he just slotted in. Either he's really good, which he is, or they've really, really rehearsed, which they probably have. But he funny because he reminded me, Scott Gorham came on to probably do half the set with them. And it was funny because in a way it looks like Scott Gorham did in about 1978 with very long hair and Gibson Les Paul. And it was strange seeing him sort of standing next to, obviously a more sort of statesman-like Scott Gorham these days. But yeah, Wallen was a good festival. Could have been better for me.
I was going to say, but not the end of Wayward Sons, which is good. I think there's
no.
I think Toby's on a bit of a world tour at the moment. He's been on his holidays. I think he's in Australia at the moment, and it was nice that Toby and the Wayward Son guys. I think with the scheduling of where Wayward Sons are and where Black Star Riders, it was a good opportunity, and I think they share management as well too. So it works out for all parties that Sam's able to sit in, and obviously you've seen the band and Sam's a good fit for Black Star Riders, which is great.
Absolutely, yeah, it's good. It's good. So it's a good festival all round. Nice to catch up with old friends, of course, and see some new music. Ash and Reach were there. They're a good new band. We saw them in the summer at. And Zero House. So yeah, it was all in all good fun. Could have been better for me, as I say, because of the old flu, but which I'm still getting over, as you can probably hear in my voice. But
and I'll come next. I will come next year because you finished second in the quiz.
That's true. Yeah.
I'll be there next year. All of the questions I'll cover all of the King's X questions that obviously they were the ones that were asked, Matt, that you
That's right.
that you didn't get.
We really struggled on the King's X round, I can tell you. That was a tough one. King's X and Porcupine Tree, we really struggled on those two.
Exactly.
Those 2 rounds.
Exactly.
What other news, Brian?
Yes, talking about fantastic 3 pieces. Look at this. Look at this for continuity.
Fantastic.
So fans of the 3-piece supergroup, the Winery Dogs, don't have to wait too long for new music, because the Winery Dogs have just finished. They've just released their first single from their new album. Track's called Xanadu, and they will be visiting England. They'll be visiting England on their UK tour.
Very good. Pleased to hear it.
Next year. So they'll be playing. They're playing. Album is released on the 3rd of February, and they're playing in June next year, in Wolverhampton, Nottingham, and in London. So I'm sure you'll go and see them at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, which is great news. I've heard the single Xanadu. It's classic Richie Kotzen and Mike Portnoy and Mr. Billy Sheehan. And I believe there's some related Billy Sheehan news as well too, Matt.
Yes, coming up soon. That song Xanadu, by the way, is that a cover of the Olivia Newton-John song from the early 80s?
I'm going to say yes, and then everybody that listens to the podcast is going to go and listen to it, and then they'll get lots of likes. No, it's not.
No, it's not. No, you're right. Billy Sheehan, a bass player of Winery Dogs and also of Mr. Big. So apparently, Mr. Big are making a comeback, which is great. Sadly lost drummer Pat Torpey a couple of years ago, but the remaining members of the band, plus I guess the drummer, I think his name was Mike Starr.
Yeah, Matt Starr.
It's Matt Starr.
Yeah.
I should have known that one. So presumably with him and, as I say, Paul Gilbert, Billy Sheehan, and Eric Martin, they're going to be back as Mr. Big, which would be great.
Yeah, I don't think Matt's been confirmed as the drummer just yet, because because one of the challenges that Mr. Big have always had is Pat Torpey was actually a really, really good singer, and he did a lot of the high stuff. And when I read the interview with Billy, they're still, Matt's great and Matt's a brilliant drummer, but I think they're still trying to find that drummer who can do Pat's vocals, because I think that was Mr. Big was always the 4 singers in the band. So yeah, be great if it was Matt confirmed, but I'm not quite sure just yet. But do you know what? I don't care if there's new music and a new tour from Mr. Big. We will be there.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. So Metallica got some new music out, Brian. A song called Lux Eterna, which is a taster for the new album, which is due out early next year, called 72 Seasons. And that sounds good. Do you like it? Have you heard it?
It's very well produced. Yeah, really old school. I think it's going back to real early days of Metallica. More grit. Can I use the word Nwabum? Showing their Nwabum influences on their sleeve?
Yes, indeed. Of course you can, yeah. Well, they are very, very heavily influenced by Nwabum, as they've said many times. In fact, funny you should mention that, but in the lyric, there is a little tip of the hat to Diamond Head, a lyric about lightning to the nation, which was the seminal debut album by Diamond Head. So, yeah, certainly they are very heavily influenced by their era, of course. Yeah. Oh, aren't we all?
We are.
I know I am. Every day I am. Everything I do is influenced by Nwabum.
Nwabum, exactly.
Indeed.
And Iggy Pop is retiring. However, he's not. He's only 75. So, but rest assured, listeners, he's not retiring from playing and singing. He's retiring from stage diving, because he says his body is too rickety to throw himself out into the audience. And for me, Matt, I'm actually quite pleased about that, because I have this vision of poor Iggy just throwing himself off the stage and just just the poor man just being in bits. So if it prolongs Iggy's longevity as a performer by not stage diving, long may he just stay on the stage and not throw himself off.
Well, it's true actually, because back in 2010, he retired then from stage diving, because apparently he invented it back in the 60s with Iggy and the Stooges. I'm not sure whether that's true or not.
Yeah.
But he did that thing. If you ever seen School of Rock, Jack Black does it in the opening of School of Rock, where and Iggy did this. He threw himself into the audience, but no one caught him. And so he landed, he kind of face planted on the ground, and obviously, however old he was then, 2010, did himself some damage. And now, at the age of 75, firstly, he needs to keep his shirt on.
That's very true.
Secondly, he needs to stop stage diving. But 75, I mean, it's not good for anyone in their 70s to fall over, let alone potentially sort of throw themselves from a great height to the ground. No. So I for one, I'm very pleased about that news.
I have to say, in my singing career, Matthew, I have never had the urge to throw myself off the stage into the audience.
No. Well, there's never been enough people for me, to be honest with you.
Or me.
To be honest, they did a lot of people to catch me, I think. a good 20 or 30. Yes, yeah, good old Iggy Pop, bless him. In other news, as we'll come on to later in the Christmas present section, Rob Halford's got a book out at the moment called, I think, Biblical.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a follow-up to his autobiography, Confession. And in it, and this talk about, kind of a tiny little story to sell more books. This made it as a news story. I can't believe this. Apparently, he turned down the opportunity to go on to I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Even though, as he said, the money was fantastic. He decided against it because of scheduling issues. I think he would have been all right on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Not that I watch it very much anymore, but I thought that was a bit of a lame attempt to sell your new book.
Yes, yeah.
Mr. Halford, come on. You weren't even on it. You were approached to go on it. Apparently, the money was ridiculously good. But as I say, scheduling conflicts made it impossible. And that's in the fame and celebrity section of his book, Biblical.
Yeah.
Which is out for Christmas, boys and girls.
Yeah, more on that later.
Indeed.
Probably one of the most anticipated gigs of the year happened just a few days ago. And I'm not sure what to call this band, Matt. So It's Pantera. And I don't know if we're to call them Pantera or it's a tribute to Pantera or it says Pantera on all of the logos on stage, but Pantera got back together with obviously Rex and Phil from the original band, with Charlie the drummer out of Anthrax, and
Charlie Benante.
Yep, and Zakk Wylde, who obviously was going to be the first choice for any Pantera tribute show, or whatever they want to call it. And by the sounds of things, and you look at the footage on YouTube and the set list and how people have reacted to it, it's gone down an absolute bomb. So I expect next year, I know, Matt, with the likes of Downloads, Guns N' Roses will be playing at in Hyde Park. I think we will see Pantera popping up somewhere in the UK next year at a few of the big festivals, which it'll be good for those people who never got to see Pantera, like me, in their heyday. And even if doesn't have the Abbott brothers it sounds as if the band that's been put together is doing a pretty good tribute to the boys, and I suppose keeping the legacy of Pantera's music out there and relevant for other people. So that'll be interesting for
Yeah,
2023.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's all right. I mean, when we talked about this a few episodes ago, I think the way it's been positioned, it's as you say, it's kind of an homage to the legacy rather than kind of
Yeah,
cashing in on it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and certainly, I think it's been done very well so far.
yeah,
And whether it's a tribute to, or which it kind of is really, or it's sort of Pantera by another name, well,
yeah.
either way, it's going to be good to hear the music, if you like that sort of thing, of
Yeah.
course. And finally, some sad news. Recently, we lost three icons from the rock world. Wilco Johnson sadly passed away, as did Christine McVie from Fleetwood Mac, and Jet Black, the drummer of the Stranglers. So, yeah, sad news. And again, it just shows you the sort of passing of time. Jet Black was 84, had been ill for a long time. A lot of people remember him from the Stranglers' heyday, and we'll put some Stranglers songs on the old playlist as a bit of a
Love
tribute.
the Stranglers. Love the Stranglers, Matt. One of those bands that hard to categorize. Where they post punk, where I just I came to them with Golden Brown, and then
Yeah,
worked my way back. Skin Deep. Oh, No More Heroes. A great punk band. Yeah, and even continued on after Hugh left and keep touring, keep playing. Yeah, sad. It's sad. Sad.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In the same similar vein, Wilco Johnson, who was probably most known as being with Dr. Feelgood in the 70s, and one of those unique characters. You ever see him play? Unique playing style and stage presence, and nearly died about 10 years ago I think he had cancer and
Yeah.
managed to come through that.
Yeah.
But one of the characters in music, and a sad loss. And if you've ever seen Oil City Confidential, which essentially is a story of Dr. Feelgood, I think we mentioned that a few
You did it
episodes
as a
ago.
hidden gem.
Exactly, yeah. Dig that out and watch it again. It's a real Wilco in that is fantastic, and it's a really good tribute
Yeah.
to not only him but also the rest of Dr. Feelgood. And finally, Christine McVie, singer, songwriter, one of the voices in Fleetwood Mac, sadly passed away at 79
Yeah.
recently. Again, that was a sad loss. Fantastic voice, lovely, and a lovely person by all accounts, Christine McVie. And I think synonymous with that lovely sort of, I guess, kind of AOR friendly, album friendly rock that they sort of put out in the hugely successful period in the 70s and 80s. So another sad loss. So last time, Brian, you gave me the year 2007 to
Yes.
reminisce about, take us back down Nostalgia Boulevard, which I shall do briefly. There were some albums, there was a few good albums out in 2007. Would you like me to mention a few?
Absolutely, yes.
I also went to a few gigs. I didn't go to the biggest gig of the year.
I'd rather not talk about it.
I tried. We'll come on to that in a minute. Albums wise, Rush released Snakes and Arrows, one of the last albums in their pantheon of work. I feel we mention Rush quite often on this, but they did do a prolific number of albums. It's good songs on that album. A Far Cry was good. Working Them Angels, I think they toured either that year or the year after to support that album. Well, we're checking out. Velvet Revolver, their second and final album, Libertad, came out in 2007. Do you remember that album, Brian?
Not really, if I'm being honest, Matt. I would have been.
Really?
I loved the first album, and then I went to see them on tour, and I didn't really give the second album much of a listen. It was good.
Yeah, a little bit weaker than the first album.
Yeah.
Probably the standout song is "She Builds Quick Machines," which is a very strange name. But probably understanding where Scott Weiland was in those days mentally, probably not surprising that he come up with a song like that. Another song, "Pills, Demons, Etc." Probably of an autobiographical nature. But we'll check it out. As I say, probably not as good as the first album, but we're checking out all the same. Alter Bridge brought out the amazing Blackbird album in 2007, which I think to this day is probably their high point of their career. I mean, they are amazingly consistent, but that album itself, some great songs on it, and songs that are, well, you tell me, Brian, still in their set, I imagine.
Well,
Did they not do too many off of They presumably did the song Blackbird.
they did indeed, yes. And they played my favourite song, which is Rise Today.
Yeah.
I love that.
But also on that album, Brand New Start, which features one of the greatest Bart Tremonti solos, in my opinion. Before Tomorrow Comes, which is a great song. And Watch Over You, which I think is one of those nice kind of ballady, put your arm around your loved one at that point type song. So a good album. Led Zeppelin put out a compilation called Mothership, which coincided with their gig at the O2 in London, which I remember trying to get tickets for it, Brian. I'm sure you did
We
too.
both did.
Talk about oversubscribed. I think several million people tried to get 20,000 tickets.
20 million. 20 million people applied for the tickets.
Yeah, so we stood very little chance. It's funny though, a lot of celebs managed to get one of those 20,000 tickets. I remember thinking, hang on a minute, Liam Gallagher, since when have you been a Led Zeppelin fan? But at least we got the DVD of that show, which has been reissued. Actually, I should have mentioned that earlier. So Led Zeppelin are putting out or streaming the concert to sort of celebrate 15 years since that gig. So that'd be worth seeing, I think, in all its glory.
I was in London. I know you.
Were you?
I actually was on the DLR leaving London, Matt, that evening or that afternoon. And I went past on the DLR to go to London City Airport. The O2 was on my right-hand side, and you can imagine all of the lovely light shows and everything that was, which was Led Zeppelin related, was being, sort of shown on the roof of the O2. And I arrived at the airport, and lots of well-heeled people getting off wearing their Led Zeppelin t-shirts going, I can't wait, amazing. And I was heading back up to Edinburgh. I was gutted.
I can imagine.
I was gutted. They made us wait 5 years, Matt, for Celebration Day to be released. It took them to 2012 to actually properly release Celebration Day. But I actually went to see it in the cinema when it was released, and it was amazing. One of my favourite concert videos. Fabulous.
Yeah. Yes. We'll put a few songs from that on the old playlist. Yeah. Any other albums for you that year, Bri?
Albums wise, it was, as you say, it was a bit slim pickings in 2007. But there's probably three albums which we'll put some tracks on. Airborne's debut album came out, which was Running Wild. They got a lot of play on Planet Rock, and I remember the album coming out, and it just was good time rock and roll. I think it's, as a debut album in the mid 2000s, you've got tracks, the tracks like Too Much, Too Young, Too Fast, Stand Up for Rock and Roll, the title track itself, Running Wild. It was just good time rock and roll. It was ace. It was just ace. Joel, he's a dead ringer for vocal wise. That Bon Scott, Brian Johnson. We've seen him live as well too. So that was a shot in the arm for rock in 2007. Maybe a little bit off the beaten track from a rock perspective, but I really enjoyed the 8th album from Manic Street Preachers, which is an album called Send Away the Tigers. The lead-off track is one of my favourite Manic Street singles of all time. It's a track that was called Your Love Alone Is Not Enough, which featured the lead singer Nina Pearson from the Cardigans. It's a great single. We'll put that on the playlist. But as an album, it's fantastic. And a little bit softer. The friend of mine gave me this album in 2007, which was a real departure for Eddie Vedder. So Eddie Vedder's debut solo album was called Into the Wild, and it was based around the soundtrack for the film of the same name, which was released in 2007. The film was directed by Sean Penn, and he specifically handpicked Eddie Vedder to provide the music for the film. And I think Eddie Vedder pulled the track together in about 3 days.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a very folk, lots of mandolins, a lot of acoustic guitars, and he plays everything on it. So it's if you want a relatively chilled out acoustic Eddie Vedder album, his debut album Into the Wild is a nice one.
Very good.
And gigs wise, how did you do gigs wise, Matt?
Not bad actually. I went to I went to one of those Hyde Park extravaganzas for the first time in 2007, and it was one of those where it's kind of a mini festival, really. Headliners were Aerosmith. Also on the bill was the late, great Chris Cornell doing his solo stuff, and obviously some Soundgarden stuff. An early incarnation of Blackstone Cherry. They were in one of those kind of side marquees, side tents, about 2:00 in the afternoon. They were fantastic. I remember thinking they were, I think I said to a friend of mine I was with at the time, they were like Leonard Skinner on acid, just really, heavy, energetic, hair everywhere.
Yeah.
So that was good. I think it was you and I went to see the Scorpions at Hammersmith with Michael Schenker, who was not in the greatest of shape in those days. I think he was still on the booze. Michael Schenker Group, where he kind of fumbled his way through.
Bless him.
Some UFO songs, and thankfully he's cleaned up his act. He's fantastic these days. But back in 2007, he was still very much drinking, and it showed, unfortunately. Saw Metallica at Wembley Stadium. That was pretty good, I seem to recall. In fact, it's really good. Nice hot summer's day with my friend James Denton. Hello, James, if you're listening. That was fantastic. Always put a great show, Metallica, especially at Wembley Stadium, as you can imagine. Yeah. So, a good year all around for gigs, Brian. Anything you can add to that, apart from when you and I went to see Scorpions?
Yeah, I saw my favourite outdoor gig of all time.
Really?
Yep. In 2007, by not getting tickets to see Led Zeppelin, I did, however, get tickets to see the Police, and I saw the Police in Twickenham Stadium in 2007, and they were fantastic. It was the best sound of an outdoor gig ever. You hear every note that the Police played. It was just mixed amazingly. And Twickenham wouldn't be one of those venues that you would say would be traditionally a great, outdoor venue. But the Police sound was fantastic. I got to see Toto for the first time. I went to see Toto. Toto were touring an album, Falling in Between, and they played Newcastle City Hall, and I drove all the way down to see them, and they did a weird, it was one of these weird, you know the way sometimes you see a band doing, whether it's the availabilities of venues, Matt, but they're UK comprised of a show in Newcastle, they obviously the show in London,
Of course.
and then a show in Bristol. So their UK tour was Newcastle, London, and Bristol. They didn't play Manchester or, Birmingham or Leeds. That was the 3 shows. So I got to see them in Newcastle, and I met Leland Sklar. The tall-haired, bearded bass player who you normally see playing with Phil Collins. So I walked in. I walked into the merch stand, is where you always find me. Albeit merch buying T-shirts, and I walked in. Was sizing up the Toto T-shirts, and Leland Sklar walked up to the merch stand, said hi to a few people. He's such an affable guy, and you just go, "Oh, hi, Lee." So that's how I knew who the bass player in Toto was that night when Leland Sklar walked in with the bass on his back, and he had 5 days to learn this set, because at the time Mike Piccaro wasn't very well with ALS. And then the final show that I'll mention, which is the last time I got to see Ronnie James Dio. Ronnie was touring with Heaven and Hell, and that was just sublime. I remember being scared witless by the support bands, which were Iced Earth, which had Ripper Owens on vocals.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the special guest was Lamb of God.
Oh right, yeah.
which is Randy Blythe and his very growly vocals. And of course, I'm in early to get good standing for Heaven and Hell or Black Sabbath, whichever you want to call them. And I was scared out of my mind, Matt, with all of the youngsters moshing about during Lamb of God. But to see Ronnie and to see Heaven and Hell, and they were a well-oiled machine on that tour. So the last time to see Ronnie, and he was still sounding amazing. So
very good,
yeah.
Very good. Well, that's a nice way of ending 2007, a Whistle Stop tour. So next time, we're back to the 90s, Bri.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, 1997 to you next time.
Ooh.
The last year of the 90s that we should be covering.
I was going to last year of the 90s.
Obviously not the last year of the 90s. The last year of the 90s.
That we have left to critique.
That we have left. Another comma that we will be covering, full stop. The actual last year of the 90s was 1999, just for the record, everyone.
And then after 1999, we move into the amazing year of 2000 for rock.
Oh, yes. Let's not forget.
The barren desert.
Indeed. So last time, Brian, you had the wacky idea, as soon as it's coming up to Christmas, that we should suggest some rock-related Christmas presents.
Yes.
For our listeners.
Yes.
And I hope no one's waiting to this point to actually start their Christmas shopping, because we are quite close to Christmas. We'll be even closer when this is released.
Yeah, can you imagine putting the podcast out? Hi, everybody, this is a podcast. It's the 24th of December.
Exactly. Get out there. Start buying. I do know a few people who leave their Christmas shopping until the last day.
No way.
I start mine in like August normally.
Yeah.
Or September, something like that. Just get the ball rolling, spread the cost, etc. So, what have you got for us, Brian? I know you got some good ideas. I've got some obvious ideas.
Have you?
By the way, we'll do 3 or 4, and then we'll let people kind of digest these. But you got some really clever ones.
Yes,
I've got some really obvious ones. But go ahead.
Okay, so let's start out, and what we'll do is on our Facebook page, Matt, we'll stick some links up to some of the websites and the pages of some of the some links up for the ideas, because you can. Yep. The fantastic thing about websites like Etsy etc. You can get so much personalized rock and roll Christmas ideas, and these are just some of the ideas. So I'm going to kick off at the heavier end of the spectrum, Matt, and as
Okay.
for those at Christmas, everybody needs a little bit of Motorhead for Christmas.
Indeed.
So EMP, which I know I bought you stuff from EMP.
Have you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I bought.
Are you sponsored by them as well?
I'm not sponsored. I'm not. We could be.
Right.
I didn't think about this. So EMP, which are where you can buy quite a lot of merchandising, have got fantastic Christmas baubles.
Lovely.
Where you can buy the Motorhead War Pigs for $17.99 to add to your Christmas tree.
That would really top it off, wouldn't it? You get a nice statue of Lemmy to put as your
I was
sort of
thinking
fairy
that,
on the
yeah.
top.
Lemmy is the angel on top of yeah. So EMP are doing War Pig baubles, which you can get. If you're a fan of Lego,
Which I'm not.
Or a fan of the Rolling Stones, you can treat yourself to the Rolling Stone Lips logo, made of Lego, for £139.99, Matt. So for that Rolling Stone fans who's got nothing to do on Christmas Day and on Boxing Day, rather than giving them a big jigsaw puzzle of an Iron Maiden album, you can give them some Lego to make the Lips logo.
Yeah.
Now you and I love our trivia.
Yes.
And Rolling Stone have a rock trivia daily calendar. So every single day, 365 days in that year, you can...
Really?
Yeah, I know. So
You're telling me this now?
I'm telling this now. So you can actually get the Rolling Stones, or the Rolling Stone daily trivia calendar, desktop calendar on Amazon for $13.99, which is great. So for those little trivia ideas, they'll probably take lots of our ideas, Matt, and stick them on there. On the books front, you've already mentioned Biblical, which is Rob Halford's autobiography. Another book, in fact, it's probably one of the best-selling books right out at the moment. And if you order it now, you will get it before Christmas. It is The Lives of Brian, a memoir. So it is the story of Brian Johnson, which I am looking forward to reading. And you don't have
who's getting that for you then? Oh, you haven't already bought it, have you?
Yes.
Oh dear. I'll have to think about something else to get you for Christmas now.
So Brian Johnson's autobiography is out, and it's cold outside,
Yes.
as Tom Jones and the young lassie from, what do you call her, that Welsh band, Catatonia, Cerys Matthews.
Yes, Cerys Matthews, yes.
Yeah, it's cold outside. So one of the things that we cater for...
We'll put that on the playlist.
Hey, there you go. One of the things we like to cater for in this cost of living crisis period that we have, Matt, it's important to stay warm. So
Yes.
if you go onto redbubble.com, which I do buy a lot of T-shirts and stuff from Redbubble, you can buy rock band posters of albums covers. You get a lovely throw blanket to put over your duvet to keep you warm. Wonder. And if you want to be on your sofa at Christmas, there's a wonderful vinyl records, like music albums throw that you can put over a sofa from a great... I love the website, Matt. It is jumpingtoads.com, and you can buy the sofa throw blanket of the vinyl records, your vinyl records collection, for £22. I think it's £27.98. I feel like
this is like QVC.
QVC, exactly.
It's $27.98 or 3 instalments of £9 something each.
Exactly, and you need to, yeah.
and you need order it now. Ring this number now. Our customer service team is waiting to hear from you.
So there you go. There's whistle stop tour of some of the ideas, Matt. If you want to fill that stocking, that rock and roll stocking. What about you? What have you got?
Very good. Well, I think you covered a lot of things. If you like Queen, you could buy someone tickets to see "We Will Rock You," which is back next June in the UK and in London at the Coliseum.
Okay.
For a short run of 12 weeks. Now, I saw "We Will Rock You" back in 2005, I think it was. Funny enough, I sat next to Ben Elton in the auditorium, strangely enough, who was the writer of "We Will Rock You," Lisa's story, which is largely kind of stolen from 2112 by Rush, in my opinion. But hey-ho. "We Will Rock You" is back in London for a short period of time. Guns N' Roses, you could buy your loved one tickets to see Guns N' Roses in Hyde Park next summer. I haven't checked the prices, but that might be their one and only present.
£100, Matthew.
Wow. Okay. And finally, on so much of the books, because we like books, don't we, Brian?
We do.
You and I are very prolific readers. We read 2 or 3 books a year. And Gary Moore's biography has been out for some time. Well worth checking out. I think between that little lot, should have things covered.
And if you're in the market, Matt, because I know there's a lot of you think back to the days of the Christmas number ones and people raising money for Christmas. There's a couple of charity singles which are out, and Spike from the Choir Boys has just released a single, literally in the last couple of days. And interesting that Spike is saying that the single is the first Choir Boys release for almost 30 years. Oh my goodness. Yes, but it's for a fantastic cause, Matt. The single is called "Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year," and it is raising money for Care After Combat. So it's raising money for that charity. And there's a wonderful single that has come out from a singer that I know you love from the temperance movement, which is Phil Campbell.
Yep.
And Phil Campbell has released a cover version of the Blue Nile classic, Tinseltown in the Rain. I was going to get that right. Phil has released his Christmas single, and it's being streamed, and it is raising money for Big Issue. So Phil Campbell is, and it's Tinseltown in the Rain is one of my favourite songs by Blue Nile. I know it's not very rock and roll, but it's great that Phil is recording music and he's supporting the Big Issue, which at this time will be supporting homelessness and those people who need support during Christmas time.
Very good. Very good.
There you go.
Very good. So everyone give those a play.
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. So Merry Christmas, everyone. Enjoy yourself. Hope you get some use out of those present ideas. And I know I fancy a few of those, to be honest with you. So, Brian.
Yes.
That brings us to everyone's favourite part of the old podcast.
Hidden Gems Eyes.
Thank you, Lola. Merry Christmas to you, by the way. So what you got for us, Brian?
I'm going with a film. Film I watched a couple of weeks ago, Matt. It was released in 2022. This is an artist who I have loved. This artist from their first album, which is the Tuesday Night Music Club, Sheryl Crow. So Sheryl has brought out a 95-minute documentary chronicling her career from her humble beginnings as a singer, getting a break as Michael Jackson's backing singer, and then moving into the release of her debut album, and then throughout her career, talks about family, talks about her her challenges with cancer, how she's a cancer survivor, and also talks about Lance Armstrong, and it just talks about the longevity of her career and how she is just single-mindedly focused on as a legacy artist, somebody who's got 20, maybe 25 years worth of a career behind her, and how she's mentoring and supporting young artists as well too. So very good documentary. 95 minutes, but probably a bit like the Ronnie James Dio documentary. Doesn't do it justice, but I have to say, an artist who I just love Cheryl's work. I love her as a singer and as a songwriter. Check out Cheryl. I'm not sure it's available free on Prime Video or Netflix, so you'll have to purchase it. Maybe a present for that Sheryl Crow fan that's out there. But as a hidden gem, Matt, great insight documentary into Sheryl Crow. Somebody you like?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yep, good.
Good recommendation. Thanks, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
I've got an album. I've got an album for you, Brian. You probably know this one, actually. I'd be very surprised if you don't. So we mentioned Ronnie Dio earlier. And
yes.
This, who sadly we lost Ronnie back in 2010. And this is a tribute album. It was actually recommended to me by one of our listeners, Will Stonia, Hello Will. And it's called Ronnie James Dio, This Is Your Life. And basically it's several artists covering Dio, Black Sabbath, Rainbow songs. For example, you've got Anthrax doing Neon Nights by Black Sabbath. You've got Tenacious D doing The Last in Line, which does work, believe it or not.
Okay.
Jack Black and Carl Gass. Corey Taylor from Slipknot doing Rainbow in the Dark, and so on. It's really worth checking out. Some really good versions, and as I say, they're playing the kind of hits that in a way the most well-known songs of Dio and his various with his various bands and his solo career over the years. So, yeah. Check out Ronnie James Dio, This Is Your Life by various artists. Remember Excellent. That one, Brian?
I do indeed. And I think, not an album I've listened to much, but I certainly heard Corey's version of Rainbow in the Dark, which I thought was, he nailed it. I'm assuming that the sales and the proceeds from the album went to the Ronnie James Dio cancer charity.
That's right. They did indeed. The Stand Up and Shout Cancer Fund. So, I guess if you listen to it now, some part of the streaming cost goes towards that.
Good.
So, all good.
Good.
That was it. That was Hidden Gems for another year, Bri. That's it.
Exactly. And we have episode 41 to look forward to next time, Matt, which as we'll do at the beginning of a year, we'll do our retrospective look back to 2022, pick our album of the year or albums of the year, which will be interesting because there's been some fantastic contenders. And then we can do a look forward to 2023 for new albums, new gigs, maybe new bands that are coming out. So looking forward to episode 41 already, mate.
Indeed. Same here. So, without further ado, thanks everyone for listening, as always, and have a lovely Christmas and a very prosperous New Year. That's Bad Pod, We Salute You is a Maylie Rogers production.